I heard it through the wire that the world's gonna catch on fire.
Hey everybody, me again. Yep, still here, still cooped up. But I got another story to tell. Because guess what? We all recently just had Corona Home Church. That's right. A little backstory first. My great Aunt Florida has always for years been begging us to go to church with her. And we've come up with a million of the most creative reasons not to, despite the fact that apparently she says her church is world famous ever since Brother Nestor saw Jesus on the side of the lawnmower shed out back of the church. She showed us a picture and, well, we thought it looked more like Sonny Bono. I'm just saying. So now, thanks to this whole Corona business, none of us could seem to find a good excuse not to attend their Corona church service. I mean, they were holding it on video. What are you going to do? I mean, you can't say, sorry, Aunt Florida, I can't come because this weekend we were planning on heading down to the basement. I mean, one more downside to this whole quarantine business is that everybody knows you're home. So we had to say yes. And last Sunday, we all went to Aunt Florida's Zoom church service. Now, I got to say, the whole idea of home church feels strange to me to begin with. I mean, does church count as church when it's not in church? And how do we do communion? And how do we pass the plate? And do we still have to dress up? I mean, can you have a sacred ceremony if you're still in your PJ pants and slippers? Are we allowed to go to the bathroom? I mean, something just doesn't feel right about it. And doing it this way, we knew was going to bring in a bunch of strangers from all over the place who are used to all kinds of church. Some not even used to church at all. I mean, how's this going to work if people don't know the rules? And how's the choir going to sing? And God, we all know Norma Jean has a fit if she doesn't get at least one solo. But there we all were anyway, some of us just joining out of morbid curiosity. They said they got more virtual attendance on that video call than they ever got in person. Probably because Aunt Florida had sent out her invitation in public on social media, which in hindsight, she now realizes was probably not the best idea. You think? You can say your church welcomes all, but you have no idea what lives out in cyberspace. I'm just saying, you'll see. But finally, everybody settled into their own little video squares. And some little old church lady was already having a fit saying somebody was sitting in her square, that everybody knows this is where she sits in home church and she has a right to it because her family helped build the real church. And Mary Lou, we can see you, by the way. You're not invisible. We know you're doing sit-ups. How dare you exercise in the house of the Lord? Oh, wait. Whose house is this technically? And Nestor never should have hit that button that said share screen. There's just some things better left private. And now he's got his name added to every prayer chain in the county. It was hard to tell who the pastor was looking at when he started talking about sins of the flesh, but we're all pretty sure it was Nestor. So the pastor starts talking about grace and how we need to be kinder to others, but it was kind of hard to hear because somebody's kids were fighting in the background and they obviously didn't know how to mute themselves. And then somebody else starts whispering, no surprise, they can't keep their kids quiet in real church either. I'm just saying, people don't know how to discipline these days. Spare the rod. Finally, somebody muted her. Now that is a benefit of video church for sure. We were really low on prayer concerns after we got through, well, the obvious big ones, because nothing cuts down on local gossip more than a quarantine. As Nestor said it best, ain't nobody cheating on nobody this month. A couple of extra people showed up late. Typical. I mean, how are you late to home church? And then about 3/4 of the way in, this bearded guy pops up on the screen. Get this. Naked. Oh, I'm not kidding. Naked. As the day he was born. Who ever heard? Well, naked except for one strategically placed Christmas sock over his you-know-what. It was covered in blinking lights like a tacky gas station ornament. I heard that's getting popular on Zoom. These naked people video bombing. Apparently, the guy does it on purpose to shake people up. He's not the only one. They said there's a bunch of us. But he's sitting there looking all calm with his loins blinking away like a happy reindeer. Now, I'm sure he thought the joke was on us for about half a second. And then the believers of the Holy Redeemer set in to do what they do best, save his soul. Some started praying for him out loud, while others started flipping furiously through their Bibles to find an applicable verse for such a time as this. And the pastor says, "Son, all are welcome." And you could tell he was trying hard not to look at the blinking lights. And then Aunt Florida, who's rolling on about 100 and about 3 beats behind everybody else, finally sees him in the square, and she starts belly laughing and pointing at him and telling him he should find a more impressive hobby. My cousin Nestor asked if he was still single. The Drake twins started praying for his soul, and Uncle Tater said, "You want to see naked? I'll show you naked," and the rest was just a blur. My cousin Bert says she swears she knows that guy from when she worked over at the free clinic. Naked guy finally couldn't take it anymore, and he hopped off the call while somebody yelled, "God loves you, but he wants you to wear pants next time you come to video church. Next Sunday, same time." And I'm pretty sure everybody marked their calendars to come back next week just to see. It took a while for the pastor to find his place again in the sermon, and we all about fell out laughing when his Bible verse referenced fruit of the loins. And wouldn't you know that the hymn that day, I kid you not, was "This Little Light of Mine, I'm Gonna Let It Shine," which I think proves that the man upstairs has a sense of humor. Finally, the pastor started wrapping things up because people were sneaking glances at their watches. I guess even virtual churchgoers expect a prompt conclusion. And while he was telling us that we would get through this tough time and that the world still had good in it, which led to a couple of eye rolls, and then everybody's faces froze all at once. For a minute, I thought it was a rapture and I'd been left behind, but no, it was just a bad internet connection. And just like that, church stopped. Time was suspended, and the pastor's last words hung in the air above his frozen expression. The world still has good in it. Pretty ironic considering everything that's going on. I mean, call me bitter, but the words are easier to say than they are to see. I mean, tell that to the person who just lost everything. Now, I don't know about you, but when I look out of the window, things look pretty darn gloomy. It's the same window I've been looking out of for about, 67 days? And I don't really see anything good. And then I heard it whispered in my ear, "Look closer." And I did, and I still didn't see anything. And then I heard, "Then look closer." But all I could see was this little old lady walking up the street, holding a handful of masks. I never saw her come out of her house until about a month ago. But there she is again today. She's walking at the speed of drying paint, clutching her little floral handmade masks. She sits at her sewing machine all day, every day, slowly moving that fabric through the machine. And then when she's got a handful made, she shuffles up the street with her shaky cane and that dog that's seen better days, and she hangs a set of masks on the mailbox. Today it looks like she'll get to 3 houses before it's time to head back and call it a day. And she reminded me of that story. Did you hear about the little lady who was sitting at her window every day, waving at all the kids at the bus stop as they got off the school bus? I mean, every single day she would sit there waving until a couple of months ago, the buses just stopped coming. And now the kids who are about to graduate with no stage to walk across gathered and stood on her front lawn outside her window one more time for one last wave. That's just sweet. And then there was a little boy down the street who turned 5, and he didn't get a bouncy house or a party, and he still doesn't understand why his nana can't come see him on his birthday. And he stands at a window looking out while his mother says, "Shh, look closer and you'll see them." And slowly coming down the street is this line of police cars with honking sirens and flashing blue lights and cheers of "Happy birthday" as he receives his own private parade from the men in blue. I saw that and I thought to myself, it's still a wonderful world. And a thin man with circles under his eyes who's finally gotten his breath back leans out of his apartment window on Broadway, all those stories up, and he sings that infamous solo in jeans and a t-shirt as beautifully as he did on that stage when the theater was filled. to a small street audience of masked angels in blue scrubs. A family argues around a kitchen table as they learn new math and wondered whatever happened to carrying the one, as blondes turn gray and men into chia pets. Exercising and eating go into overdrive. If he chews any louder, she swears she will smother him. If she doesn't change those yoga pants, he will go insane. The sighs get louder, and yet they don't mean as much as they did before. As the news flashes another chart of statistics, and suddenly, well, it's one more gray hair. We watch into computer windows as a man shares a new song on his piano. A woman replies in the thread with a new painting. She didn't even know she knew how to paint. While this family learns to cook, a choir joins together like angels perfectly timed. And they sit in different places from all over the world, yet their voices find each other and they reach into our cluttered living rooms from these tiny screens that one day were destined to ruin us all, and yet today bring us hope. And a joke goes round the world and back again. And we remember to laugh. And I think to myself, still a wonderful world. The quiet EMT crew, standing around another ambulance wearing last week's mask, heads bowed in the corona pose they know too well. For there's always time to pay respect. It's just what we do. The unexpected car that rolls into our driveway and lingers while a masked lady hops out and waves and leaves a box of home-baked cookies on the doorstep. No need to come out, we just had extra. And somehow those cookies are the best you've ever tasted as you watch her drive away down the street. And to think you once thought her rude. A business is gone, a dream broken, a summer painted over. But look, beyond the fear, just beyond the unexpected, is the glimmer of something shiny, something that always springs eternal. Hope. I guess what the pastor was trying to say, the bigger message in all of this, is that when times get tough, and when we're so sick of staring at these same walls, maybe it's time to move to the window. Don't see it? Look closer. I promise it's still a wonderful world.